Welcome everyone to a brand new episode of Extraordinary Talks. As you can see today, I have a very special guest. The beautiful Navea-Huff is going to be telling us everything about her time at Miss Universe Philippines and her ongoing journey to represent the country internationally. How are you, Kali?
I am so good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to sit beside you and be interviewed by you because I've seen so many of my mentees be interviewed by you, and I'm very happy to be part of this very positive space in pageantry.
Well, thank you so much for actually welcoming your home.
De nada.
Oh, she's already fluent in Spanish, guys.
Okay, you're being way too kind to me. I would not say fluent by any means. No.
El Salvador, she's coming.
Hasta luego, El Salvador.
So before we get started, actually we also have a very special guest here, the beautiful Cher.
Hi everybody.
So I'm excited to talk to you about everything pageantry and most especially your preparation, your hopes for the pageants. But before we get into those questions, I always like to give a little moment for the candidates to tell the audience, who are you? Like, what do you do? Maybe they're not so familiar with you just yet. So how do you introduce yourself?
Well, hello everyone. My name is Callie Navea-Huff. For those of you who might know me, you might know me as a mentor to some of your favorite beauty queens. I've been very lucky in that sense to train not just Q&A and interview skills, but advocacy building, helping the queens become more self-aware in what they have to offer. And that's something I want to bring with me my own journey as well. And I think the best way to introduce myself is as somebody who is self-aware, who knows my skills, knows my talents, one of which is communication, but more importantly, inspiring others to see their own strengths. And I just really have always wanted my entire life to make a change, however small. I have been a national football player, and during that time I would do a lot of sports clinics, and now I'm actually a law student. And one of the things I'm very passionate about is inspiring others and encouraging others to know their rights. Yes. And now as a beauty queen and as a hopeful Miss Universe Philippines, I would just really want others to know the power of their voice. And so in all the different things I've done in my life, and I guess you could say accomplished in my life, I've just always wanted to make that change. And I hope people would want to see that in me as well.
Yes, absolutely. I must say, I'm really, really excited to be having this conversation with Kali because I think for me, and I mean that it's not just because you're next to me, you embody what I see in the future of pageantry. So I'm really excited for you.
Thank you so much. I know Cher's super excited. That's why she's biting my fingers.
Oh,
but yeah.
I'm excited to share. So let's go a little bit through the journey of how you got here to this point in your life. So can you tell me, where did the entire thing with pageantry start for you? I know that, before getting into a pageant as a beauty queen, you were training. So how did you get into that?
I will say I actually was not a big pageant fan.
Oh.
People would be very surprised to hear that. I mean, of course, I liked pageantry. Like, who doesn't love to see the Filipino queens on the stage? I remember where I was when Pia and Catriona won. And it was such an amazing patriotic moment, really. But I wasn't a huge fan in that sense. It just kind of fell into my lap because before I started mentoring, I was working at a human rights center. And I was the head of a gender desk. So most of my work was gender sensitivity trainings, women empowerment seminars. And I would take a lot of cases involving harassment and issues involving women. And so when attorney Nad Bronze went to Miss Universe Philippines and he was looking for a Q&A trainer, a friend of mine actually took the position. And he asked me to come in and help the girls develop their messages, realize the platform that they had. And yeah, I was very lucky to be invited to join the pageantry world, and I'm still here.
What was your first impression like going into that world? Of course, because we all have like preconceived notions of what it's going to be, what the girls are going to be like. So was it what you expected or completely different?
Absolutely not what I expected at all. And again, that's just because when you're the outside looking in, you have a very limited view of the queens. And even if you are in the inside, you can't really fully encapsulate how multifaceted the girls are, how multidimensional they are. You really only get a small picture of their personalities. And so when I got to know them more and more, I had realized so many things about them, but also about myself. Not being a pageant fan, I think a lot of it was rooted in my ideas of feminism, was rooted in my ideas of women empowerment. But meeting them and being in the pageantry world, I was always asking myself, like, who am I to gatekeep feminism?
True.
Who am I to gatekeep what it means to be a woman, what it means to be empowered?
Mm-hmm.
And so seeing them celebrate not just their femininity, but all the different aspects of themselves, that was really inspirational for me.
Mm-hmm.
And not just my journey, but also how can I help them fully realize that power, fully take it to the next level? And yeah, it's been so amazing. And I hope to do that for more people as well.
You're doing amazing, actually. So I'm sure that many people are already inspired by you. So just keep going.
Thank you. And actually, the you're doing amazing. It was giving a Chris Jenner moment. You're doing amazing, sweetie.
Gosh. So I wanted to ask you as well. Of course, you go into this world of like being a mentor and caring for the girls and helping them with Q&A. When did the idea of joining a pageant first come to you?
Oh gosh, it wasn't a specific moment. Like, I'll be honest, it was not a specific thing. I think when I first walked in, my very first day as a Q&A trainer, I was just astounded by their beauty.
Yeah.
And yeah, a little part of me was like, oh my gosh, I would love to be that beautiful. I would love to do this, what they're doing. But I never really saw it in myself, even though actually the Aces and Queens team was telling me that first day, you should join.
Yeah.
I never really saw that in myself. And it really took the past 3 years of mentoring to kind of see the girls' transformation, to see their stories. And a huge part of my job as a Q&A trainer is to let them know the power of their experience.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing that for myself. I really wasn't. I mean, I have accomplished a few things in my life, but I never really saw, oh, but my story is also powerful. My voice is also powerful. Probably because of my past struggles, but also because it's really hard to do that for yourself. You know,
Sure.
I'm sure you know, as a very positive person, you can give so much kindness to others, and sometimes you're not kind to yourself.
Yeah.
So I think it was mostly the huge shift for me was when Anne took over as an owner of Miss Universe Philippines, because it's not just a strong Asian woman, it's a strong Asian trans woman. And so for that, it was so powerful. The first time a pageant has been led by all women, and for her to be talking so much about not just advocacies, but really what it means to transform. And it's not about a big overnight change. And I don't think she's ever expected that out of any of the queens. But the small things you can do in your life to make a difference, that's what I've always been doing. And I said, wow, is this serendipity? Like, what is this? This is... I think it's my moment. And so I've been very lucky that people do see that in me, and now I'm starting to see it myself as well.
Oh, wow. So that's how you felt your calling of maybe this is the right time.
Yeah, when Anne took over, that was like, okay, this is all lining up so well. And it's my last year because I'm 27. So it just seemed like a light bulb moment. Let's go for it. It is. Yeah. If not now, then when? Quoting Arbany. Thank you, Arbany.
Wow, she did her homework, yo. Okay, so one of the things, actually we were just talking about this before we started recording, but of course deciding to join a pageant, there's always a lot of public opinion and pressure and stuff, but being someone that is already within the industry, has a name, and is recognizable, right?
I have a name. Well, thank you.
Literally, the Q&A trainer is like such an important person in a queen's preparation, right? So how did you manage the expectation of like the pressure and how people were gonna react to you actually joining a pageant?
I'll let you know when I do manage it. No, I'm kidding. No. I have much higher expectations for myself than anyone will ever place on me. Yeah. And I think that comes from my background as an athlete. Truly, I'm so hard on myself. I'm so competitive sometimes. But really with what I know I could do and how I'm doing, I always take a moment to assess. Yeah. And so people kind of putting that pressure on me, I don't feel nearly as much as the pressure I put on myself. And so managing others' expectations as well as my own, I've had to really remember that you can work as hard as you can put in all the work, and I have, but it's ultimately up to destiny. It's ultimately up to what the judges value as well as what the org values. And so you do have to let go and just enjoy. You have to just be yourself, because if you're constantly thinking about every little thing you could be doing, you're not being fully yourself. You're not fully owning your power and taking up the space that you deserve. True. And so I've just had to keep reminding myself that, and had to keep just telling myself that I am worthy. I could do this job if they give me the responsibility, and just sit back and let the rest happen.
Period. I love that. I really do love that. And it's all about just embracing, your path and your journey and what you want to get out of this experience. Because it's not just about yourself. It's also about the message that you're putting out there, right? How did your friends, family, and colleagues at Aces and Queen react when they found out?
My Aces family was really excited.
Uh-huh.
Actually, it was really when Arbity won that things really shifted for me, and so I was talking to them about it. And I think their first concern was who's gonna do Q&A. Well, I know we have an amazing Q&A coach that's been there for about 2 years now with me. So he happily took over. But they were like, okay, when are you coming back? When are how are you gonna still do the Q&A trading? But they were really excited because they also know how hard I've worked with Aces the past few years. And I've been very lucky with not just the time that they've given me throughout my journey, but looking me in the eye and saying like, I'm really proud of you, and you can see it that they really care for you, and that really is the only reaction I ever needed. So they've been really supportive. Yeah.
Oh, so happy for you.
Thank you.
Would you say that because of course you come from the camp system and you have this experience and you have trained amazing queens as well, you think that people will hold you to a higher standard than other girls?
I don't know about that, because there are so many veterans. True. Right? There are so many girls that have done this before, and I think that everyone has their own kind of pressure. Even the ones who are in it for the first time, they have their own pressure from their families, from their provinces. And so I do think the standard for me is higher in a specific area, which is of course Q&A.
Yes.
And I do want to rise to that challenge, but I also know that it is not about a strong, impactful one-liner that I give. It's not about giving the quote of the century.
Yeah.
I just really want to show who I am. I really want to show my heart. And as long as I do that, even if people think I should have used a different word or should have, put a different quote in, then I'm okay with that, because I just really want to show who I am.
True. I think it's important because at the end of the day, right, whatever happens with the pageant, whether you win or not, or, the important thing is that when you look back at that experience, you are proud of the work that you did and how you presented yourself, right? So that's the key element, right?
Yes. And actually, it's such a huge part of the trainings. I think when I would coach Q&A, a lot of people thought I was telling the girls what to say or having them memorize answers. And that's absolutely not what we do at all. Yeah. It's about drawing from your personal experience. It's about using the strengths that you do have to really not just highlight your words, but also show who you are, show your personality. And that's what I want to do for myself. And so as long as my Q&A shows my personality, shows my experience, and comes from my heart, that's all I really, really want to accomplish.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you got this in the bag, girl. We are rooting for you.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. I think that in most scenarios, it is to be expected that whenever you make such a big announcement, friends, family, colleagues are going to be happy and supportive for you. Now, when it comes to the public's reception of you as a candidate, how did you feel at first when you announced, I'm competing as a beauty queen as well?
I was so overwhelmed. Oh. If I'm honest, and I appreciate you saying that everyone knows my name. I really didn't think anyone would care. Leading up to it, and I was having such anxiety the few days before my application. I was like, I should have, used the Aces name more. I should have done this more. And I think because, being in a pageant, you do need that platform. And that wasn't really something I focused on before. I just wanted to do my work and maybe do it quietly sometimes. Yeah. So I wasn't expecting any kind of public response. So, and the responses that I were getting were not just, oh, she looks good. It was so specific to my personality, to the words I've said before, as well as now people that I haven't seen or talked to in years reaching out and reminding me even in college you were talking about this, and I appreciate that so much. Now you have this platform. I've been so overwhelmed. I've been so grateful. I've been really, really blessed with the quality of support that I'm getting and the people that believe in me, even not just in this pageant, but even before that I didn't know they did before.
Yes, of course. I'm so happy because, of course, sometimes going public, representing, your country and representing, well, right now, a part of your country, it's very intimidating because of course sometimes they can be like mixed reactions and you don't know what to expect, and if you have never been in that position, it's a lot to manage. So that leads me to my next question, and it's how are you taking care of yourself mentally, preparing yourself, making sure that you're kind to yourself when sometimes there's so many comments on social media and people judging, or even sometimes just providing positive feedback. It's still they're still telling you stuff that you should adjust. So how do you take care of yourself?
Well, I always try to take every comment as constructive criticism, probably because it's how I was raised. Is my parents, because I was an athlete, were very much into little adjustments. A 90-minute soccer game, it's like, okay, remember the 13th minute when you did this. And, even as a kid, you really take that hard. But I've learned over the years to take criticism as constructive criticism. You can adopt it if you think it fits, but if it doesn't, then okay, throw it away. That's fine. So in that sense, I have been able to kind of use that to fuel my journey a little bit. But there have been moments, of course, where the criticism is not that constructive.
Girl.
And so I really had, girl. No, I think the biggest change I made, and it's such a very specific thing, is I had to not get notifications on comments from people I didn't follow, because I would wake up at 3 a.m. and check my phone to see if I missed any notifications. And then I'd wake up to, "You are so fat." And I was like, oh no,
oh my
it's 3 a.m. Let me sleep. No, you can't really take it as the worst thing in the world, because somebody, as messed up as it is, somebody cares enough about pageants and even about you to want to tell you what you can do better. Yes, they could have said it in a different way, and they should. Whoever you are, take that comment. But you also know that they do want you to be better.
Of course.
And so even at 3 a.m., I have to say, okay, take it constructively, Callie. It's fine. And I also know that when I win, manifesting.
When you win, yes.
That there's going to be that on a much larger scale. And so you do have to take the challenge now and handle it with grace, as well as handle it with not just compassion, but take it with a grain of salt and try to move forward with that, because it's going to happen again and again. Yeah,
you're right. I think that right now, like we were just talking about this, Miss Universe Philippines, I believe, has such a high standard that sometimes it's even higher than some international pageants.
It's true.
But when you win that title, it's a completely different level of public attention and criticism and preparation and what people expect from you. So it's a good training at the end of the day, to go through it.
And I also think it's because everyone has their favorites.
True.
Right? I hope I'm the favorite of some people. True. Please like and subscribe. No, but everyone has their favorites. And so what happens is if you didn't win, it was, you were my favorite, you should have won. Yes. And if you won, the question is, did you deserve it?
Yeah.
So there will always be that, even if you were 1,002% deserving, there will always be somebody that said, no, but this is my best friend's cousin's barber. That should have, I was supporting her the whole time. Oh no, but this was my mentor, or this was my teacher. People will want their favorites to win. And that passion is a double-edged sword. So I understand it. I do wish it was a little bit more kind, but you can't have it all.
True. It's part of the experience. And of course, for as long as you're able to manage everything and it's not getting out of control, then it should make you stronger.
And we were saying the number one thing to combat all that stress is yoga, right?
Yoga.
You've been doing yoga every day? Have you?
Well, next question.
Okay, I feel like we have to keep each other accountable on that. To manage the stress, let's do yoga.
Most definitely.
But not on video chat. I'll keep you on speaker and I'll be sleeping. I'm doing it. Namaste.
Just call me. I'll be in my bed. Just say, yeah, girl, I'm stretching right now.
Yeah. Stop.
Oh gosh. Okay. So when it comes to the preparation for the pageant, of course, we know that there are so many things that go into, getting ready to be a beauty queen. There's physical preparation, mental preparation, Q&A. How have you been managing all of it at the same time?
Oh gosh. Well, I was very lucky that I was kind of training before the application period. So I was able to kind of get the basics, especially for passerella. It's so important.
But you've been at Aces and Queen for a while, so have you been able to see?
You would think, right? I would watch. I'm you're doing amazing, sweetie. That's me. That is always me. I'm the person I'm cheering, the cheerleader on the side, and I've always been fine in that role. So being in there, and I will say, like, as beautiful as I know I am, and all of us girls are, it is hard to, project sexiness, project sweetness, project beauty when it's not something that you've done before.
Yeah.
So that was a big change to me, is just reminding myself, like, no, you are beautiful. You can do it. Just look yourself in the mirror and emote, project. So that was probably the hardest shift for me. But because I was lucky enough to do a little bit of training beforehand and being really trained by most amazing people, I had a lot of help. But kind of being in this pageant now, of course, you're so busy. The trainings are not as much as they used to be. And the schedule keeps getting more and more hectic. You have to find time. So, I mean, I still practice Q&A. I know people think I don't, but I'll literally be in the banyo putting on my makeup. And I'll play the interview challenge from Miss Universe 2021 or 2022 and just answer the questions while I'm doing my makeup. Like, you have to find the time to train. You have to find the time to develop yourself.
True.
And so I have been lucky in knowing what to expect in the coming days and the coming months as well.
I think it's a good strategy. I mean, even though we know that's your strength, I mean, you're literally a mentor for beauty queens when it comes to Q&A and interview. You still do it yourself. You still have to practice.
Yeah.
It's all about not settling, not taking it for granted, right?
Yeah. Of course, I mean, we always want to get better.
Yeah.
And I know people think, again, that Q&A is all about being the most intelligent person in the room or whatever, but it's really not. You have to know yourself.
Yeah.
And it's never the people with the best vocabulary or the best grammar or the most quotable quote. It doesn't automatically make you a winner, right? And
True.
I've never believed that. And so now my own training, I have to look at my experiences, think as well about what I have to offer and keep doing that. Baby, don't get mad. She's like, no, that wasn't good enough of an answer.
Go back
She's
to
my
practicing.
harshest. She's my harshest critic.
Oh, sure.
Oh.
But I definitely agree with you. Actually, I think that a very good example is last year when Celeste had her Q&A moment.
Yeah.
Her answer was so simple, but yet so touching.
Yeah.
I think that was a great example of that. It's not always about throwing fancy terms and making it, like the absolute, like, most complex answer. It's all about.
And like even that answer, and some of the most famous answers really are so short.
Yeah.
What makes you blush when I say the wrong thing?
Yeah.
Right? And you, again, like, it's not about trying to show off your intelligence because this is not a debate competition.
True.
And I think all queens are intelligent, should, present that, but those are for different moments. On the final night, what you want to show the judges is who you are, what your heart shows. And her talking about her mom, like, that really resonated with me because I haven't seen my mom in almost 3 years now.
True.
And so when she was talking about that, and I was just thinking, wow, I wish I could honor my mom in that way. And I think all of us do. So it really did resonate with people. And, as much as they will say, oh, it could have been like this, it could have been like that.
True.
No, she showed who she is. And that's all we can ask of her.
I agree. It was the perfect answer. For me, I also related to it so much because my mom lives in Cuba. So I was like also almost 3 years without seeing her. And it's not just like any context, as in like, oh, I want to see my mom, I'll go see her. It's like it was the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
We could literally not go see our loved ones. So
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people related to that because of the meaning within the context that we were going through.
True.
True.
Very true. I didn't realize you hadn't seen your mom in 3 years.
Yeah.
I thought she was in Canada with you.
No.
How's your dad? Well, this is an interview for you now.
Oh, no,
but your dad's in Canada.
My dad is in Canada. Yeah, my mom lives in Cuba.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah. But I saw her ever since I went back to Cuba. Saw my mom after. But yeah, of course, the pandemic, was difficult for everyone. So.
Yeah, that's so true.
That answer hit home.
We love you, Celeste.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, I was so lucky enough to meet her the other day because we had an event with Save the Children.
Ooh.
We had a workshop. We were talking about not just their organization, but also, one of us will eventually win. And even the top 5 will work with Save the Children. So how do we work with that organization and with the other advocacies in Miss Universe Philippines? And she was really, really sweet enough to give us about like a 20-minute talk on her experience going to Marawi.
Yeah.
And what that meant for her, the community, and even for the people there. Because I think, and she was explaining this, a lot of the people, especially in Marawi, don't expect big influencers, especially Miss Universe Philippines, to come to the
To show
community when it has been undergoing so much strife, so
Mhm.
much struggle, and oftentimes they're not really in the limelight, unfortunately.
True.
So she was talking about that experience, and you can really tell she is so authentic. She really just wants to help.
Yeah.
And we've been very lucky to have her as Miss Universe Philippines, and I hope that whoever is crowned is able to follow in those footsteps of just sharing your heart, because that's all that's all people really want to feel. That's all that you should be doing.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Sending love to you, Celeste, if you're watching this. I want to ask you, as an athlete, how do you approach the physical preparation for a pageant? I feel like that's such, especially, I mean, I imagine that being an athlete, you're very like competitive.
Oh yeah.
You are very,
You saw it in my eyes. I was like, oh yeah.
You like demand a lot of yourself.
Yeah.
So how do you approach it?
Well, when I was playing soccer, one thing I would do is before and after every training, I would take maybe 30 minutes to an hour to just practice different kicks.
Yeah.
Different angles, different ways of kicking, and I would see the results in the next game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I approach this, is I really break things down. Okay, for kicking, okay, what if I move my foot a little bit more this way? What if I hit the ball under here? With passerella now, it's like that. I break down every little thing. Okay, I need to turn out my hand a little bit more. I need to, put my shoulders back. I think about every aspect of my body because I am a micromanager.
Yeah.
And then after I kind of put it all together, that's when you really feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, you do have to enjoy the music, enjoy the moment, be in it. But I'm personally, I'm unable to do that unless I have everything there first.
Yeah.
And once I get every little thing down perfectly, that's when I can enjoy and let go. So it really is just more of watching my feet first.
Okay.
I don't have to think about my hands. Don't worry about my hands right now. Just do the feet. Okay, next are the hips. Okay, my hips and my feet are good now. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. It's a slow progression, but I've been very lucky with a good trainer, Louis Tan, and I also know myself that if I keep working at it, I will see results, just like I did in soccer, just like I've done in chess and everything of my life. Just keep practicing and you'll get better.
Absolutely. Yes, it's all about putting in the work and practice.
Practice. I've always believed practice does not make perfect. Mm-hmm. Practice makes permanent.
Wow. Oh.
And so if you're practicing bad habits, it will be permanent habits. But perfect practice makes perfect.
True.
If you go at it and you think about every little thing and you keep practicing that, that's when you'll actually get that level of permanence. Nah, that's perfection. Yeah. Sana perfection.
Sana all.
Sana all.
I wanted to ask you, I mean, for me personally, when I first got into pageantry, I even remember the first video that I ever made about pageantry, I was like kind of hesitant to even talk about it because people were asking me like, you should check this out. But in my perception, pageantry was very much like objectifying women. That was what I thought back then. Yeah. The perception that I had, like from the social influence that I had, I was never really exposed to it. But when I got into it, I realized, it's a lot more than, just physique or beauty and all of those things. But I feel like up until this day, some pageant fans still put the girls into a box, into a mold that they want everyone to fit that mold. And if you don't fit it, then you are not worthy of representing the country or, having that crown. What do you think? I mean, in terms of preparation, let's say like mental, communication skills, fitness, how do you prepare to make sure that you are the best version of yourself without trying to fit somebody else's mold?
Well, I think it's also important to realize that our history has had that level of objectification. And you can't deny that.
It's undeniable.
And the origins of pageantry does not negate its ability to change, to evolve, to do great things. Yeah. And once you accept that, you start to realize that the most impactful queens are not impactful because of their bodies.
True.
They're not impactful because of their hairstyle, anything like that.
True. And
it's really been an honor of mine to see people transform, and not because of the way that they, look or how they do their makeup or whatever, but really what's in their hearts, like we keep saying. And I would just hope that, people who think that girls belong in boxes or that there is a certain way to look, don't forget that a truly impactful person, their value is not based off of their body. It's not based off of their face. It's based off of what they have to offer, based off of their stories, not just education and experience or whatever, but really the experiences that they've had, the narrative of their family, of their community, as well as their own. And it's just pageantry has really evolved to the sense that we are now looking not just at the beauty, not just at the body, whatever, but more on how can they impact people? How can they tell the message in a way that resonates with not just their community, but the country and even the universe, right? Yeah. So it's about putting the value in the right things.
True. I think that's something that, I hope that's where pageantry is going. Right now there's been so much progress, of course, but there's still room for improvement in pageantry. I always, when people, sometimes I had this conversation with some of my friends that, how do you, let's say, select, let's say I'm making a topics, who makes my topics and what's the criteria. I always try to look at pageantry in this angle. So for me, being a beauty queen or a candidate for any pageant is all about inspiring people around you, right? So you want to be the best that you can in your communication skills because people are looking up to you and they want to be something like that, right? You want to be engaged in your community through your advocacy, whatever it is. It's all about showing that you can have a platform, you can build a platform, right?
And I think it's also it's more realistic actually to say that it's not just us being optimistic. Pageantry is evolving, and the reason being is because the times are changing.
True.
And pageantry has always been a reflection of the times. Has always been, maybe even sometimes pushing it. Because the first ever queen of color to win Miss Universe, that was a time when America was still segregating schools.
True.
Right? The first time that we had an Asian queen, that was when we were still having this Eurocentric idea of beauty. And so we are not just showing the possibility, but we're also showing the reality. And so I love seeing that shift because it does look towards the future, but it's also who women are now. And I do hope to be reflective of the women now as well as what we can accomplish.
Well, I told you this in the beginning. You are, to me, you represent what I want the future of pageantry to be like. So
I adore you. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Cher is just passed out, but she's also grateful.
Get the rest, mama. Get the rest. Do your yoga. So let's talk about one of the core things about pageantry. So your purpose, your advocacy, what you're doing with this platform. So I know you are an advocate against gender-based violence.
Yes.
What can you tell me about it? Maybe for those who are not as familiar with it.
Yes.
How can we get them exposed to it?
So my advocacy is awareness on gender-based violence, and this is actually something I've been doing since college. And the reason being, and maybe not the only reason, but one of the things that really drove me is because I'm a survivor myself. I faced not only physical violence from a partner, but psychological as well. And honestly, those scars are still healing. There are so many times where in my current relationship, I still struggle because of that fear, that lack of trust that you're still building. And my partner is so great, but you have those scars that you're still trying to heal. And I realized that, despite my education, despite my athleticism, despite all the privileges I've had in my life, I was still in that position. And to me, that was such a big wake-up call. Is if this happened to me with everything that I've been offered in life, what more women who are geographically isolated, what more women who are disabled, what more women who have faced so many other forms of discrimination. And so that what really inspired me to keep pushing and keep moving forward. So as an athlete, I would do a lot of sports clinics for women. And now as a law student, a lot of the trainings I do are either gender sensitivity trainings, or I have done a few seminars on violence against women, the different forms of abuse, the protection you can get. And what I want people to get out of this advocacy is not just, oh, listen to me, here's what I know. I want people to realize that even when I was still a college student, I knew I had something to offer in supporting violence, in supporting victims of violence. Even when I was playing chess, I like to talk to people about it. It doesn't really matter what your platform is. and I know like me having a beauty queen, I could say that, oh, it doesn't matter, but it truly doesn't. Like even
It's true.
before I was a queen, I still know that you always have a platform.
True.
And so I want to talk about not just my advocacy, but I want to inspire other people to look at their own advocacies, to look at their own platforms in whatever way it is. Maybe you are a teacher, maybe you are an athlete, but maybe you're just a friend, a sister, whatever it is, you have a platform. And that's really what's driving me in this pageant and hopefully on a universal stage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, I want to commend you for being so courageous to even talk about it, because I think it takes a lot, out of yourself to be so honest, to be so vulnerable.
It's
and
still
put your story
hard.
there.
Yeah, I'm not going to be like, oh, it's fine. I'm totally healed now. Like,
Yeah.
it's still really difficult.
Exactly.
And going into the details especially can be very traumatic.
Of course.
But, there's so many people also that have probably been through much worse than I have. And I don't want to discount my trauma, but
Of course.
it is important for people to know that they're not alone. So, yeah.
Exactly. Because it's often the people who are experiencing that type of violence, those who cannot really talk about it, or
Yeah. And
make
there's
their
just so
voice
much
heard.
stigma.
Yeah.
There really is. There's that unmerited shame put on women because what were you wearing? Why are you in that position? Why didn't you just leave? There's so many horrible questions thrown out at women and really people of all genders. And that's why I wanted my advocacy to not just be about violence against women, but gender-based violence.
Gender-based,
because the LGBTQ plus community, they really face so much violence every single day.
Every day, yeah.
And the questions on why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Let's call it what it is, the ignorance also.
The ignorance, yeah. There's no other.
There's no other word. Oh my gosh, Cher, if you know a word, honey, wake up and tell me. But that ignorance, it's so damaging for more people to come out and tell their story.
True.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for putting in the work and talking the good talk. I'm actually curious to ask you, as a law student, what do you think are some of the changes that you would like to see in terms of laws or ways to help these victims? So.
Well, definitely, and I hope I'm probably going to get some bad comments on this, but definitely pass the divorce bill. As we are now, we do have annulment and legal separation, but the grounds there are very limited.
Okay.
And even with legal separation, you can't remarry, you can't get into other relationships legally. And with annulment, the grounds really are so restricted that even physical abuse one time does not cover annulment. So divorce is really, really important to encourage more people to speak out, to find safer options. And I would also want to include trans women in the discussion, especially for RA 9262, which is the law for violence against women. It actually is a very comprehensive law, and I encourage more people to read it because the grounds are specifically listed, as well as contemplate so many other forms of violence. But trans women are unfortunately not in the discussion. Yeah. And as we've seen, not just in our policies, but even in our language, trans women are truly discriminated in every which way. Yeah. And yet their rights are not often recognized under the laws. And this is not just about me being, I'm an advocate for the LGBTQ plus community. It's also me being realistic. Yeah. Because our laws need to reflect the reality as well as the needs of the people. And for trans women to be included in laws like 9262, as well as Magna Carta for women, as well as so many other inclusive laws, it's important that we recognize their needs as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love you for that.
Thank you, darling.
Absolutely. And I think, this is exactly one of the reasons that changed so much my perspective about pageantry is because it's having these conversations and, you're changing the world in your very own way, one day at a time and one conversation at a time.
I would really hope to make that big of an impact, but I've always just wanted to change 10 lives. Yeah. It seems like such a specific number, but I saw this speech, actually with my professor, Chirigo Kinko, that showed us this speech. And he said, he was talking to an audience, maybe about like 500 students. It was a graduation speech. And he said, every single one of you should have a goal to change 10 lives. Because if every single one of you do that, then those 10 lives will change another 10 lives. True. And those 10 lives will change another 10 lives. Yeah. And by that time that you leave this earth, you will have impacted an entire generation. True. And I always think of that. And I'm just, if I can just change 10 minds, and they're also inspired to keep that ball rolling, paying it forward as it were, then you could really impact a generation.
Absolutely. And it's all about just, having an impact on the people around you and those that you can actually reach. Sometimes we push like so much expectation on title holders. We expect them to, solve all of the problems in the world and stop
Yes.
war.
Let's be honest, sometimes we hold them to a higher standard than we do our public officials.
Exactly.
But it is important to be aware. It is important to want to do those things, but you also have to be realistic.
Yeah, exactly.
You also have to let them know that, you're human too.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about promoting the conversations and making sure that people are aware of these issues, not necessarily, solving everything like it's, magic. I want to, as we head towards the end of the interview.
Oh no!
Let's do this all day with Cher.
We'll be here 6 hours. Just hang out.
So there's something that I really want to get your take on, and that's with all the changes at Miss Universe, of course, and the new management as well as the new perspective of what we're going to be looking for in the future. I'm interested to know, what is your definition of a transformational leader?
Ooh, I think a transformational leader is someone that doesn't put all the work on herself to transform. Mm-hmm. She includes others in the discussion. Mm-hmm. And transformation is not something that happens overnight. It's not something that is placed on the shoulders of one person. It's something that is a collective effort. Mm-hmm. And by including more and more people, not just those who are struggling, but even those who are doing well, not just members of the public, but also members of the private sector, those of the government, working, bringing everyone together and looking at the ways, the everyday actions that we can do to make a difference. And I have been very lucky to kind of do that in my own small way. Mm-hmm. And so what I want a transformational leader to be, and what I hope it is, what I think it is somebody that also inspires others to transform. Mm-hmm. Shows them that it's not just me, it's also in you. And if I'm going to transform for this specific advocacy, you can do the same for yours. True. And you can do the same for this community, for this purpose, for this cause. Looking at not just the collective effort we can direct to change one life, but how we can all make those changes in our everyday setting.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with you. That's actually pretty much what comes
Maybe
to
I stole
mind.
your answer.
Whoa.
I saw it written to the side.
She just took those, guys.
Yes. Cheating.
So when you think of, let's say, all of the things that nowadays we look at when it comes to beauty queens and the preparation, how would you distribute the percentages of what we should focus on? Is it the beauty? Is it the physique? Is it the commitment, the academic background? What do you think is the...
Oh gosh, if I could make my own percentage, I would probably put 30% for advocacy, which I know seems like it might be a little bit, especially for a Q&A mentor. But I don't think it's as much as, show us every little event you've done. Show us every little thing on your resume. I don't think it should ever be like that. And so presenting your advocacy should be a huge portion, but it shouldn't be all about the work you've done. It should be what drives you. I'd say 30% advocacy, maybe 20% passerella, because you have to be able to show that you're confident. Yeah. It's not necessarily about the technical skills, but because those can be taught, but the confidence you project, because that's so necessary for a queen.
Mm-hmm. And for a leader also.
And for a leader. Mm-hmm. I would do another 20% for swimsuit, which I know people, again, would probably come as a shock, because I do consider myself a feminist in progress. But swimsuit is not just about physique. True. Swimsuit is about owning your body away from the eyes of the male gaze, away from the standards that everyone else has put on you. It's about owning your body, being confident in who you are. And again, I think that's just such a good quality to have. So now we're up to 70%. Oh, math. Let's go, math. Wow. And I'd probably put 10% into the final Q&A, which people would, again, be shocked by because I'm a mentor, but it's such a small aspect of your intelligence, such a small aspect of your personality. I think it's kind of unfair to put so much weight onto that. And that last 20%, personality. Because if you are not relatable, if you are not showing how you connect with others, and maybe make a joke or two. You can't be a leader on a platform and expect that everyone will come up to you. You have to be able to go down to them. You have to be able to connect with the people you're aiming to represent. And so I think personality is a huge part of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I hope I did my math right. I feel like people are going to be...
The comment section.
Girl, she can't even do math. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a law student.
I think she did okay. Actually, my math is, Next question.
Es muy bueno. Mi mathematician es muy pequeño. Okay, that's so good.
Okay, so the last question for you. When you think of Miss Universe Philippines this year, so in 2023, you are going against new faces in the world of pageantry. You're going against veterans, and of course yourself being someone from the industry as well.
Yeah.
Why should you be the next Miss Universe Philippines? What is it that you have? What can you bring to the table that will justify you getting that crown?
I think more than anything, I do see it as a job. I do see it as a lot of work that I have done in the past, but also I hope people see that I'm willing to do and I'm capable of doing. But more than that, my work that I've done and that I hope to continue to do will always be encouraging people to use their own platforms. Not just look at me as the only person with a platform. And I think that is what could make me an amazing, not just Miss Universe Philippines, but Miss Universe. Is beauty pageants have, yes, they've evolved, but they've always been capable of not just inspiring people as an end goal, but doing that work every day to see the power they have in themselves, to see the power in their perspective, in their story, and in their voice. And I really want to make sure that whether I'm a Q&A mentor, whether I'm an athlete, a law student, I keep doing that work. And as a Miss Universe, I wouldn't be able to just mentor hundreds of girls like I have. I'd really be able to mentor millions, if not billions, of women. And I know that's something I could do, but I also hope that it's something I could do for others.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'm crossing fingers for you, just manifesting and hoping for the absolute best, and that you have the greatest time of your life in the process. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Please tell our viewers where they can find you, how they can support you on your journey. And everyone, please do, otherwise I'm gonna get my chinelas. You know.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you everyone who has been listening to us, who has been supporting me. And if you are just meeting me for the first time, you can find me on Instagram at Kalihuff, Kalihuff. And please just continue supporting not just me, but all the queens. We appreciate all the passion and the love that you give. And we just hope that it is shown to everybody because we're all doing our best. And the winner will not be decided by who is the absolute best in pasarela, who is the absolute best in makeup. It's not like that. It's just who the judges see having a strong message and a good heart. And we all have that, but it really is up to them. So please just support all of us to encourage us to show our best selves. And thank you so much. And gracias por escucharme.
Oh, wow.
Yes, thank you for listening.
My absolute pleasure. And thank you as well for welcoming your home, for feeding me.
Of course.
Well.
I'm already regretting. I feel like the bulge from the omelet we had.
You look amazing. And let me give you a hug. Thank you
so
for
much.
everything.
Thank you.
I'll be supporting you. Everything that you need that I can do for you, I'm just a message away.
Okay, well, you owe me an omelet.
Oh, I got you, girl. And thank you to our special guest as well. Share.
She's tired. No.
Oh, say bye to the camera.
Bye.
Thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Stay safe, take care, and be nice. All right. Bye.
Bye.